So Friday when they lost against the Kings, 105-97, that I was telling you last week, you're like, oh, no, they should win. No, Kings aren't that bad. And they shot lights out. I mean, Bogdanovich was, man, as we say in Spanish, estaba insoportable. Anyway, they lose, right? And Bam has one hell of a game. He had 26 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 block shots. And if you go back to my tweet, I filmed the video of him getting pissed off at the end of the game. The announcers are bragging about the game that Bam had in the loss. Meanwhile, Bam is livid, dude. He's pissed. Game's over and they lost. He doesn't care about his stats. I think he shot 12 of 16, I think it was. Let me see what it was. Right, 12 of 16 for those 26 points. Do you know how efficient that is, that you missed 4 shots? I mean, that's awesome. You shot 75% from the field. 12 of 16. I can do a little math. Not a lot, but I can do a little bit. And the guy's livid. He's throwing his towel. I don't know if he's F-bombing or whatever, but he's pissed. And I saw that and I go, I love this. Because Whiteside would be looking at his box score to brag about his blocks in a loss. Oh, but we had the block show going. We had 4 blocks. We played great. But Whiteside, you lost. Yeah, I know, but we played great. You know, Whiteside, his priorities are always screwed up, like a lot of players that are about themselves. And that's what Bam is not. He's not about himself. He doesn't want to brag about his 26 points on 12 of 16 shooting. He wants a win. He saw that he lost against the Sacramento Kings, and he was pissed. I love that. That's the kind of player I want on my basketball team. That's the kind of player that Pat Riley wants on this team. Somebody tweeted out when they saw that, they said, I don't know who it is, but much love to you, whoever put it, said he reminds me of Zoe. And that's exactly, and remember, he does talk to Zoe a lot. And that's exactly it. Zoe hated to lose, man. Oh, dude. And let me tell you something. You learned this right away when you would walk into the locker room. If they lost and you asked Zoe to talk about his excellent game, his 28 points, 14 rebounds, 3 block shots, he would look at you and say, man, that doesn't mean anything to me. We lost. And he meant that. Like, I want to say he meant that S. Like, I really want to say it right now, and I can, but I'm just telling you, he meant that S. It wasn't a show. It wasn't like when you walked away, he grabbed the box score after to admire it. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. If they lost the game by 1 or they lost the game by 25, and he had 45 points in that loss, Zoe doesn't want you to talk about his game. He'll let you ask about his game in a win. Those were the rules. Like, you knew right away if you were covering Zoe long enough, don't go asking him about his individual accomplishments if they didn't win. Because he didn't want to hear about it. He didn't want to know about it. It was really difficult to deal with Zoe at times after losses. Zoe was a pain in the ass after losses. As great a dude as he is, one day, and it was against the Pistons. I even remember the team. I'm a beat writer and beat reporter in those days. And so I got to know the players pretty well. So I would go in, I would go in before the game and I would talk to a player about post game. And I would say, hey, listen, everything goes well. Can I get you after the game? And, you know, I need you for Sporting News Radio. I need you for whatever it was, ABC, UPI, whoever I was stringing for in those days. Because what you would do is, I would make extra money by I would cover the game for QAM. I was the beat guy. But then I would also cover the game for different outlets. ABC, UPI, ESPN radio, whatever it was that was on, all kinds of, back in those days, there were a lot of outlets. This was a long time ago. This is before digital took over and all that stuff. And so they would pay you a certain amount of money for, the updates throughout the game, the sound after the game. And if you could get an interview, I remember I used to make $50 for an interview. So if I could get a player on my cell phone, I'd call in and I'd say, yeah, I've got Tim Hardaway, I've got Alonzo Mourning, I've got Dan Marley, I've got whatever, Mashburn, you name it. And I would put those players on. I would make $50 off that interview, right? So I go to Zoe, and I'd done this several times with him, where, hey, Zoe, after the game, if you don't mind, I need to get you for Sporting News Radio, or whatever it was. I forgot who it was exactly, but it was a Pistons game that I remember. And he had never done this to me. And one of the reasons, I didn't walk in there and they were playing Michael Jordan, and I would ask him before the game because I kind of knew what the result of that game was going to be. At that moment, the Pistons weren't a great team, so I expected the Heat to beat them. They lose to the Pistons that night. So I walk in, and I go, hey, Zoe, I got to do the interview with Sporting. He goes, nah, man, I'm not doing it. So, he screwed me right there at that moment. I couldn't make the money at that moment, and I had to, try to scramble and ask another player. And I did get another player. But, obviously, nobody's Zoe on that team in those days. You know what I'm saying? So whoever you were going to get outside of Timmy, it was going to be, down the line, they're going to say, hey, I thought you told us you had Zoe. And normally.
You get Mashburn.
Yeah, exactly. And you normally end up with, the player that I normally would tell him, hey, yeah, I've got it set up. I've got Timmy after the game. That kind of stuff. And that's how Zoe was. Zoe was really difficult to deal with, man, after losses. He would answer your questions and all that. His patience was a little thinner, during the losses than it was during the wins. He got better towards the end of he got better after the kidney. After he faced a life and death consequence, he was a little easier to deal with. He was more humbled, that kind of stuff, I got to admit. But he wasn't a bad dude ever, okay? But you could tell that losing, it was just something he didn't want to deal with, man. He hated it. He really hated it, And
it actually affected him like it does a lot of fans that care.
Right, exactly.
You care. You care.
And that's what you saw in Bam Friday night. He didn't care about his stats, man. He cared about losing. He cared that they lost that game. He cared. He felt that in fact, after the game, Jax approached him, and all Bam could talk about is, I think he had 4 or 5 turnovers in that game. I had too many stupid turnovers. I got to take care of he didn't talk about, no, I shot well. I did well in the game. No. All he could point at is the stuff he didn't do in the game. Again, so Alonzo Mourning. It's just one of those things that you got to admire, man. Pretty cool. Let's see, what else do we have? Ty says, only listen to you, Big O, and where's my wrench next to my name? Poop, needles, and foot fetishes. Wow. Yeah, we're all over it, man. We're all over it. JD Nails says, what do you think about Barry Jackson's new article? The guy keeps it real. I would imagine Alonzo Mourning and Jason Taylor were both difficult to interview after losses. Actually, Jason and Zach were awesome. You know that? They were awesome. That I got to say. That they were very, very, very cool. Like Jason and Zach were pissed about the loss, but they were better than Zoe dealing with it. They were easier to. They would answer the questions as much as it pained them, and you can tell, you know.